So maybe you're thinking, is MBA actually worth it? Well, I actually took this quick snippet of my longer form podcast, Sales Talks, and we actually talk about whether an MBA is worth it or not. And if you do go for an MBA, in what circumstances is it actually worth it? And I think your answers might be answered, right? So in this video, we have Mia, or Tao. She just actually graduated from her MBA. We have Tom, who's a consultant for many, many, many years and has dealt with many MBAs. We also have Jasmine. She's an engineer at a really big company, and she talks about her experience of thinking about an MBA. We have me, of course, who was a former pharmacist. Well, actually, I still am a pharmacist, who's no longer practicing right now. And we have David, my final closer. So I thought this interview was really interesting. I would suggest that you watch the whole thing, just block out some time, listen to it on the road. But I'm sure if you guys are thinking about MBA, this will definitely help you make your decision a lot easier. All right, so guys, watch this whole playlist. I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Peace.
Like so many of them, I mean, no offense to millennials, just feel like I see a trend of like entitlement, you know, and especially MBA students, it's the worst. They
Yeah.
ask for they ask for so much money. And I'm like, what more can you do? You have no experience. You have an MBA. You're asking for like 20 grand more. What more can you do with the person I'm just hiring out with an undergraduate? I'm sorry, with a bachelor's degree, right? Like your first year into consulting, you're gonna do the exact same work as they're gonna do. What more can you add? What you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna pay you more just because you have a degree in an MBA. I'm sorry, it's just the reality. We're not a strategy company that values MBAs that much, you know. But yet they're adamant, they're demanding it, you know. So I just have zero tolerance for that type of stuff.
So basically, yeah, they don't like your point of view is like an MBA doesn't add any value, any extra value to the marketplace. You know,
That's right.
Yeah, experience trumps. How do you feel, Tao, that or Mia, that Tom just attacked you? You are a millennial and you're also an MBA student. How do you feel?
I feel it's right. You know, I don't even like put any expectation on the degree. I try to get it done because because you know went through it like halfway already. But I know for the fact that fucking degree doesn't do you any good. You know, like nowadays if you go out there, like now if I'm going out there to apply for job, I know that I can beat people up because fucking like my experience and my confidence shit. But before, if I would just get out from college with 2 degrees, what the fuck I can do? What like the fuck can I deliver besides knowing nothing with the like 2 piece of papers? It's not doing anything. I know that.
Yeah, and Kevin, there's no attack. That's why when I was trying to pursue the whole mentor coaching on campus, I was trying to help students to avoid those type of mistakes. I'm not against higher education. I say do it for the right reasons, right? And a lot of them don't know. They just, because what ended up happening, and I see a trend because I've been recruiting for about 10 years. When students don't get jobs after they graduate with their bachelor's and they struggle, so what's the default mode? They continue school. They go to get an MBA and they have no work experience. And then it makes it worse because then now they accrued all this debt and then they go out with no work experience, maybe some internships here and there, and they're demanding higher pay. No one's going to do that, right? At the end of the day, it's experience. So I was like, I'd rather take someone with a 3.0 GPA that have 6 years of, or 5 years of internships or 5 summers of internships over someone who, has a master's that have zero experience. It's tough. It's tough. But I told him I do show empathy when I talk to them. It's like, I understand you try to get a return on your investment for that degree, but that's not how the world works. You have to understand, if you were in my position, and that's what I try to do. If you were in my position and you have these 2 people and you're going to put them to do the exact same roles and responsibilities, what would you do? and especially if you're trying to run a business, the one that's most expensive, the one that's less expensive.
Dude, you stole this from this book, man.
Never
did?
what? Never what?
Never split the difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You
he
know what?
talks about that in the beginning.
I didn't. It's so funny because I've been doing that. That's why I like that book so much. Because there was some stuff that I did apply, but some stuff that I was learning from it too.
Yeah, I think that's a great book. Like, Never Split the Difference. I love that book so much.
I love it. I actually recommend it to someone.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm so glad that you liked it, man.
No, it's a really good read. I just like I like stuff that's psychology type stuff, you know, or something that you can relate to.
Dude, there's so much you can learn from that book because it's like, okay, like in a hostage situation, you're not going to go 50-50 with someone. You're not going to be like, hey, yo, kill half the hostages and like whatever. We'll meet at $25,000. It's never like that. And so it's kind of cool to see, like, if you have these limitations, what does closing look like? You know, when you can't walk away, when you can't be like, but it looks like we're not doing business today. But before I leave, like, you can't do that. You know?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But I tell you what, guys, you know, MBA is really good if you want to change your career path. Like, you know, like if you say, for example, you're an engineer and you want to get an MBA because you want to go into more business, that makes sense. Like, as long as you have a purpose, I always tell people, as long as you're trying to, like, wherever it may be, or if you want to get your MBA, get into like strategy consulting, because that's all those companies value. They value that a lot more. Or if you're working for an industry where PhD and MBAs are far more valuable, like in banking or in chemical companies or anything that has to do with science, right? They value PhD. So those degrees make sense, right? But in the field of business, it's very hard unless you're going more strategy.
In the field of like entrepreneurship, it's fucking useless, man. Like, in my opinion, like, it's a big expense.
I mean, if you're trying to go for fucking MBA, right? Just don't do it. It's a fucking waste of time, man. Cause those fucking professors who teaching the class, they don't even have the business themselves.
It's true.
They're just learning from school, and they, taking master degree, PhD, and everything, but they don't even have zero single fucking experience about how the market works or how the world works in general, and they just telling you BS.
It's all theory. It's all theory.
Yeah, all theory.
Another thing too is a lot of these professors, they have tenure. So it's like they're good for life and they might have like less motivation, you know, to really do on that. So, but you know what MBA is really good for is also networking. I know a lot of people who did executive MBAs because it's required to be a partner at my firm. It's mainly just for networking with people in that same program.
Hey, Tom, I have a question. So for, like, I'm a young engineer, and I thought about, like, the company I'm working for right now. Like, I'm thinking it's kind of bad. Like, if I don't plan on staying for a long time, right? So I was thinking about, like, should I just take some classes because I know my company will pay for it? Like, if I want to get my MBA, like, does it make sense as a young engineer doing that? Like, straight, I just graduated 6 months into the job. Does that even make sense?
That's the first question I always ask is, what are you going to do with the MBA? Is it to get promoted? Is a requirement, a prerequisite to get promoted for next rank? Another thing too is, here's another thing too. There's a legal requirement that a lot of these MBAs, yes, they always say never pay for your MBA because companies will pay for it, but they lock you in 2 years minimum.
Oh.
Right. So after you get it, they said that if you leave the company within those 2 years, you get stuck with the bill.
Okay.
So like that's why at least in my firm, they pay for the MBA, the executive MBA. It's really expensive. The executive MBA is like $160,000, right?
God damn.
And like the top school, in order to get there, like in order to become partner, they'll pay for that. But once you get that degree, you're locked in for 2 years. Now, they'll pay for your MBA. I forgot, like monthly or something like that. I can't remember what the period is. But if for some reason you leave, you get stuck with the whole bill. Like, even though they were paid portions of it, like say after a year, You think, oh, I only owe 80 because they paid for the first 80. No, you get stuck with all 160, when you leave. So a lot of them wait 2 years and then quit or change companies because now they have this executive MBA title and they're a partner level. So they just they jump ship, right? So they can become like, I don't know, a C-level position at a company or something, right? But it's a commitment. So even then, it doesn't stop there. So if you do decide to go to the program, expect to have some kind of level of yearly commitments with them.
And even like, I think Tom, you said something that was really interesting, is like we're just considering the money right now. We're not even considering the time commitment, right? So if you like eventually want to be an entrepreneur, does it really make sense to do like an MBA program like that, right? Because I don't know how is it usually part-time MBA, like usually for those
You could do both. It depends if you can afford to do it, right?
Yeah.
If you do full-time, 2 years. If it's part-time, could be 4 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking time.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
Like Mia, how long have you gone through the program?
1 year.
Okay.
And that's it.
That's part-time or full-time?
Full-time.
Yeah.
Extra time, to be honest. Like, so I only have to take 10 classes in total. And I'm taking like 4 classes last semester, 2 classes in the summer, and 4 classes this semester. So in total it's fucking what? Yeah, 10.
Wow.
And I learned zero. Like, I learned nothing.
Wait, this is your MBA?
Yeah, my MBA. And I pay like fucking 40,000 or something for the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for 1 year. Yeah.
So let me ask you, Mia, like if you learn absolutely nothing, there's not one thing that you could say that you got out of it?
Yeah, nothing. Just, seeing people operating at that level, I'm so sick of it. People, like, even professor, right?
Yeah.
They just do things that they have to do, right? And it's not, the other day, right? Now that I'm so confident when it comes to doing presentation where other people like struggling and shit. And then one of the presentation was about the admission of this school is going down, like, the application, everything's going down. And so one of our slide was saying that, some of the major are dying, right? It means that nobody's fucking applying for it anymore. So we put that title in, and the professor, he criticized us in front of everyone. What
Wow.
the fuck?
That's messed up.
So let me ask you, Tal.
You know what he said though?
Yeah.
What he said? He's like, be careful with your word of choice, right? What do you mean by dying? Imagine if a dean is sitting right here and you saying that, some major are dying, then how do we look in front of her? To be honest, I was, calm down, and I just smile because I know it has nothing to do with me. I don't proceed any further with this degree. But to be honest, I'm gonna tell him in the fucking face. I'll be like, if you don't want to look at the fucking truth and fucking doing something about it, then it's gonna die. To be honest, So it what's wrong with the word dying? Like, they can't even take that. They don't even look at the truth. They just always like kiss ass and everything in school and trying to, like, the head of the director of the MBA program in my school, right? That presentation is pretty much showing her, how messed up, the fucking system is, and asking her question, how is she doing? What is she going to do to improve the system? She doesn't know shit. Everything is like, oh yeah, I gotta go back and look to my team and see, how we can do things, and what are we gonna do and stuff. But she doesn't know anything. And just the word dying, the professor was like, this is like bad. You are not like saying the right thing and making us look bad in front of the fucking director and shit. I'm like, oh, see, like, I don't even want to learn anything from them.
Mia, what was their MBA degree? What was it in?
just master degree of business administration.
Business administration. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So basically, their programs are doing too well, and they're basically not making money. So that's
Yeah,
what's
not
happening.
making money. Our school having like less and less student like every year and shit. Especially like MBA program. And they trying to look at the data to analyze like what can they do and shit. I didn't know why I would take that class, MIS, to be honest. I thought it was a requirement, that's why I took it. But then I figured that it wasn't required, and now I'm already taking it. I'm fucking like, are you familiar with Tableau, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm having a hard fucking time.
Oh man, don't you hate it when they give you coursework that's not relevant to what you want to do?
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys, do you think that's going to be the trend? Do you think that's going to be a trend, like where students like millennials and stuff are just going to just be like, fuck it, school's not worth it, and just like opt out and go into alternative education?
I bet.
There's forecasts. I think it was Yale, Harvard, or something. Or no, it was Deloitte or something, where they did analysis of the trends for the last decade or so. They're seeing that by 2030, that more than half the workforce will be freelancers and entrepreneurs, like more than half. And that I forgot. There's another period. They said that it's going to be an economic concern because there's going to be a higher demand for corporate jobs or jobs in general, and a low supply. They're saying that the workforce won't have the skill sets to do the work that's needed.
Do you think that's necessarily true?
I don't know. I'm seeing that trend because think of it this way. I'm looking at it from a consulting or at least corporate level where you have a bunch of people who are holding C-level positions, right? And no one's staying that long. No one, like millennials today, will not commit to a company 20, 30 years, 40 years to reach that level. So who's going to be the next leaders? So what's going to end up happening is that these leaders will probably be forced to stay longer during retirement. Instead of retiring early, they're going to have to stay longer because they're not going to have qualified people or any future leaders left down the road. So I'm really interested to see what our next set of leaders at the C-level positions or C-suite positions in the next 20 years, 20. It'd be really curious on how the economy will look like.
Yeah, it's definitely like all this self-education is definitely, in my opinion, going to be a huge disruptor, man. Like if you can, like you literally can learn almost anything online nowadays.
And that's why I mentioned that one statistic. I forgot what it was. It was like 1900s. They're talking about how knowledge doubles every 25 years or something like that. And then during the world wars, like 1940s, that knowledge was doubling like every 10 years or something. You get the idea. They said today, knowledge doubles every like year, if not every day. It'll get to that point. So it's like the amount of information that's out there is almost like, gone are the days of kind of like your brick and mortar stores, right? It would be the same thing with education. Like it might get to the point where it's all digital, all online, different things that you want to learn, and then you learn specific high demand skills. Yeah. But there's always going to be that population, how I feel. I don't think it's always like that, transition and just what I call disruptive technologies. The same thing with like education system. It's always going to be some coexistence because just like electric cars, people are like, oh, if we're going to have flying cars or electric cars, but guess what? The infrastructure doesn't support it. The rest of the world is still driving, combustion engines. It supports that. So a huge population would still use it. And there's going to be a slow wave of like people adopting to the world of electric cars. The same thing with education, right? There's always going to be a large population of the school system, and people going to class and college. I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think it's just that it's going to take a long time for it to transition. Now we're starting to be at that what you call the tip of the iceberg, where you start to see the shift of there's a lot more entrepreneurship, there's a lot more consulting. Because when I was in college, I didn't even know what consulting was. Now when I go on campus, almost every single student knows what it is. They all know the big players in consulting. So I'm like shocked that they have programs teaching about it, because when I was in school, they didn't have any of that, you know?
You want to know the truth? I didn't even know what consulting was until I met you, man.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
True.
Where have you been?
Yo, bro, I knew about funnels and all that sort of shit, copywriting, but I didn't know what a fucking consultant was. I was like, what are you consulting, bro?
Yeah. And it's a generic term too. Like
Yeah.
everyone's a consulting, right? But like it just depends on their background, where they came from, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very generic term.
I technically give consults too when I'm a pharmacist and shit, but I know what I do is totally fucking different from what Tom does, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When I first started,
Yeah.
people thought I was therapy, because I didn't know, right? Consulting was like, they thought I was doing like some kind of therapist type work.
Yeah.
But
I see where they get that. It's like consoling, right?
yeah,
Console.
Well, even like when somebody asked me a question at the pharmacy, that's consulting. They literally name it like consulting,
yeah.
consultation, right?
I mean, I didn't even know what the job was. What I was sold on was 5 weeks vacation. That was it. I mean, I just took the job. It was the
5
second
weeks
highest
done.
paid. My parents were so upset. It was like a $15,000 or $20,000 difference between the highest paying offer and the job I took. My mom got so upset, thought I threw away money on the table. And I was like, well, it's because they didn't know where I'm going to be next 2 years. I was asking that question, but at least the consulting, or if they say consulting, they said I get to try a lot of different things and different projects and figure out what I want to do. I'm like, okay. And I get 5 weeks vacation. So I was like,
Let me ask you this: like, you guys are getting older now and stuff too. Like, when you have kids, right? Like, would you recommend them to go to college? I mean, I obviously it depends what they want to do, but like,
yeah.
would you say college is a must for them? You know, like our
No.
generation, college is like you have to go to college, right?
I was like, no, I'm all about like evolving with the times. So if it's required, if they would like say, for example, they want to be if they have a passion to be in like, becoming a doctor or an ER, whatever it is, right? Or surgeon, then you also have to go through education, right?
Wait, you can't just take a 7-week course, like live webinar thing, and can't learn surgery through that? I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. You can't just look it up on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe that time will change, by the time I have a kid,
There's actually a surgeon in HTC, and
TJ?
I said, yeah, well, yeah,
He's a foot surgeon.
yeah, and he's like, I don't know if you talked to him, but yeah, I
he's
sat
like-
to him next on the airplane,
Yeah.
and then he said he's working on becoming an influencer, like developing a course and having a surgeon. So I thought that was really cool. That's what it reminded me of.
Give me 7 weeks and I'll teach you how to do neurosurgery.
Very specific.
Only 7 spots left.
I want to add on to like what Tom was mentioning. Like especially my company, I don't know about other companies, but my company is pretty big, and retention with the younger engineers is a huge problem. Like most of them won't stay past 5 years. A lot of them leave like 6 months. Well, not a lot of them, but some of them leave 6 months in. So I think the pattern at least what I see from among my peers, they graduate, but then they start a business. Like my landlord, he's like 21, and we went to college together, and then he just bought this apartment, and so he has other businesses. He started like clothing brand. I have another friend that started an Amazon business. So all engineers, and I think they're all working to become entrepreneurs. So I think the idea of college isn't going to go away. I think a lot of students, just because college is still embedded in the educational system, like you must go to college, I don't think that's going to go away. I just agree with Tom's point. It's going to be harder to find talented leadership.
Yeah. That's why talent acquisition is so hard. Remember we talked about those 3 pieces for a company. When you talk about like product and market, and you talk about distribution, and then the last piece is the hardest is talent acquisition. That's where it's going to have that problem. Like I ran into that problem trying to build the practice for my company. That's why I had to handpick everyone, because I didn't want people who are the complainers, that aren't hardworking. You know, it's like, it was really hard. Like I only want like top performers out of college in order to do, you know, come be part of the practice.
Yeah.
Right. And disqualify all the other ones. It's really hard. But yeah, I think that it's going to go that way. I think people are going to realize it. But here's an interesting thing. I think that the folks who are like the kind of just starting their careers, like